In Marseille, France, there was a sailor named Edmond. He had one of the best jobs in the world. He traveled to exotic locations, had plenty of money, and was the most eligible bachelor in town. But Edmond had one problem. He was too trusting. One day before his wedding, his best friend, Fernand Mondego, came over for dinner. Fernand was a soldier who had returned from the Napoleonic Wars. He had lost an arm in the war, and Edmond had helped him get a noble title, so that Fernand could get a noble pension. Now, Fernand was getting married and asked Edmond to be his best man, but Edmond couldn't help but notice that Fernand was acting strangely. The sailor assumed that it was because of the wedding stress and didn't think much of it. The next day, Edmond was to sail to a nearby island to pick up a mysterious package. It was a big favor from a rich, influential man named Danglars, who was also going to be at Edmond's wedding later that night. But when Edmond arrived at the island, he found out that Danglars had set him up. The package contained a large crate full of confiscated goods that were to be turned over to the authorities, and Edmond had just gotten himself arrested. Edmond was thrown into a dark, dank prison where he spent the next 14 years. He was visited by Fernand once, but his best friend didn't stick around long enough to find out if Edmond was innocent. After all, he had betrayed Edmond to save himself. One day Edmond managed to escape. He found a hidden treasure and became rich. He also discovered that both Danglars and Fernand had become very successful, and they had both made their fortunes by scamming people. So Edmond returned to Marseille, bought a noble title, and returned to the city as a rich, powerful king. He took the name Count of Monte Cristo and immediately began to take his revenge. Danglars was sailing around the world to avoid the French Revolution when Edmond sent him a letter saying that he knew about the treasure. Danglars was desperate to keep his fortune, so he paid the Count a visit. The two men struck a deal, and Danglars agreed to give half of his wealth to the Count. But behind the scenes, Danglars continued to plot against the Count. Meanwhile, Fernand had become a general in the army. He had married the woman Edmond had been going to marry and now had children. But the general wasn't as happy as people thought he was. He had grown sick from an illness he had picked up in the war, and there was only one cure, a rare flower that only grew on the island where Edmond had been imprisoned. Fernand sent a man to retrieve the flower, but Edmond, who was now running the island as a lord, had other plans. He took the man to the palace and locked him up. Then he sent a message to Fernand telling him to come to the island if he wanted his man back. Fernand did come, but he wasn't about to let Edmond take him prisoner. The two fought and Edmond won. He then threw Fernand into the same prison where he had spent 14 years. In the end, Danglars and Fernand both died on Edmond's island, victims of their own greed and betrayal. As for Edmond, he found love again and lived happily ever after.